Hi, everyone. It is Heather here with the Old Schoolhouse, and welcome to another Homeschool Live. Today, I am here with Daniel Allers, and he is the founder of History Plus. With over 1,200 workshops taught in person across the province of Alberta, Daniel now brings his passion for history and science to the world through History Plus. It's actually History Plus Online. When not teaching or running a theater, you will find him traveling the world to gain more in-depth knowledge on the subject he teaches. Daniel, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thanks for having me, Heather.
So I am so excited for you to share with us the beginnings. How did History Plus come into being?
Well, that's a good question. It comes way, way, way back. I'm a homeschool graduate myself. I homeschooled all the way from the very beginning, and as did my whole family. And of course, as all of us who homeschool know, one of the greatest things about home education is that you're able to chase your passions, right? Of course, there's the core stuff that everyone should know, but if there's something that you find truly interesting, you just kind of get to pursue that. And for me, that was history and science and geography, and just the fact that the world is so vast and such incredible things have happened. And so I was the kid who was always checking out all of the nonfiction from the library. And fast forward another 20 years, and I realized that the fact that I found history to be actually a interesting thing and that there's so much fascinating content there was relatively unusual. And sadly, most kids and now people who were adults found history to be something that they consider to be boring. And it's really hard to make something that you consider not be interesting for your own kids. And so my mom said, hey, you should try and do something about that. And so History Plus was born. We started out by teaching workshops every month in, oh goodness, a dozen communities all across where I live, which is in Alberta, Canada, and traveling. And for those of you from different parts of the States, that's an area about the size of France. So it's a pretty big place. And so we traveled all over the place teaching in person. And we still do that. I'm actually just gearing up for teaching in person in just a week or so here in Alberta. This year we're focusing on science, so it's going to be a treat. But yeah, we were able to do that. And then, of course, everything got derailed in 2020, like it did for almost everyone all over North America. And for 2 days, I thought I would have some time off. And then I approached my brother, who is a videographer. And I said, hey, there's people all over the world right now who don't have access to good options from home. And so History Plus Online was born. And we teach through the worlds of history and science and geography in a really fun way that really engages with kids. And it's all completely green screen. So it's like very visually oriented, which is great because that's how most kids learn in many ways. And yeah, since then, it's exploded into, we know we're on almost every continent. We have people in Australia and all over the US, all across Canada, of course, England, Spain, South Africa, all over the world, which is really fun. And it's neat because it builds a community where students can, really connect, not just with homeschoolers right in their area, but with the videos and stuff, be connecting with a broader community across the world.
Incredible how fast that happened. It shows that there really was a need.
Yes, and that's one of the things that absolutely shocked us is just that there were so many parents who were like, oh my goodness, we've been looking for so long for something like this because my kid, who absolutely hated science or geography or history, now they can't get enough of it. And it's so fun to be able to be a part of really teaching kids that history isn't something that is just old, dead, boring people. It's alive and living and really has so much to teach us about not just what's going on today, but where the future might go and so much amazing stuff.
Absolutely. So I'm so curious, what makes History Plus stand out from other history curriculum?
For sure. And so for us, what it is, and just to tell you how the platform works, if you were to go to historyplusonline.com and type that in your search engine, you'll find us. And it's a completely video-based thing. So every month, a brand new topic comes live. And that's one of the great things, is it takes really all the work out of the lesson planning. Because every month there is a brand new topic. And you can go to upcoming topics and see what's coming up for the next year. And what we always try and do is we try and combine history and science and geography, because the school system thinks of these things as very insular to each other in a lot of ways, where in reality, they're all interconnected and woven together. And that's really what we do, is we try and bring them all together. And so, for example, if you join us in September, our topic that month is when science goes wrong. And so we take a look at history and science, and how, as you go through science and history, there's been a lot of corresponding oopses that have occurred. And of course, what's better to get kids engaged than, disasters, whether natural disasters or things like Chernobyl or the Challenger explosion. Those are what we focus on. And so every day of the month, there's between 20 and 25 video episodes. Each of those episodes is about 5 minutes or so long. And it really unpacks one of those key events. And every month is like that, whether we're talking about history or science or geography, where it breaks it down into those nice bite-sized 5-minute segments. Now, some people choose to do these once a day over the course of the month. A lot of families, they just kind of binge watch them all in one big 2 or 3 hour marathon, and then they go back and review them over the month. But the beautiful thing is each video is enabled for you to go further as well. Every episode has downloadable answer worksheets and answer keys and all of that. So you can really, if you want to have work for your kids to do while they're watching the video or after, it enables that. And of course, there's also links to different videos on YouTube or the like, where they can say, if your kid has never heard of, say, the endurance expedition where Shackleton ended up stranded in Antarctica. Well, hey, if you've never heard of it before and that captures your kid's imagination, here's some additional resources so you can learn more about that. Because that's the beauty of home education, right? Is that every kid learns differently, and every parent wants to teach differently. And as homeschoolers, that's something that we know. And so if you want to have it and just watch the videos, tons of people do that. If you want to take it and have albums of worksheets and things that they've completed in association with this to show facilitators or however it works in different states, you can have that too. So it's very, very flexible.
I love the flexibility. I love that. I mean, you can definitely tell that this was created by homeschoolers, because you have a variety of options for the parents. And right now, where I am in the States, school is starting to go into session, and in a few weeks, in other parts of the country and the world. And, this is a great time to start something new. And I love how you said that there really isn't that much prep work for the parent.
And that is the nice thing, is that, they can just take advantage of it. And it's like having 1 or 2 core subjects where you can just, I don't have to worry about that. And even better, it's not going to be a fight to get your kid to do it every day, which is always a nice thing. Because, I mean, some, they just love history and they'll love it. And some, they won't love history and they'll probably be able to enjoy it as well, just because of how it's presented. And then at the end of every month, that month ends and there's like a 5-day overlap. And then that program gets taken down and then a new program replaces it. So after that, we jump into the world of engineering. So the history of engineering and how it shaped the world, as well as how exactly, laws of motion and all that work. And for the younger age group, because we do have 2 split age groups, which is one of the greatest things. Because obviously, if you're talking to teenagers, you do it differently than if you're talking to, ages 7, 8, 9, 10. And so there is a younger age group, which talks about it in the more elementary terms. And then there's an older age group, which gets more into the meat and potatoes of how it all works. And obviously, every kid is different. And you can try them out, see which one works as the best for your family. Or, if you've got multiple kids, as most homeschool families do in different ages, they can definitely take advantage of both of those. And they're usually correlating topics, but they're definitely independent of each other.
So you already touched on how History Plus can help homeschooling families, but are there any other additional ways that you can think of that can help homeschoolers?
Well, the big one is just, that it does make it unboring, as we like to say. It actually makes it a highlight. And if you can instill that excitement into a topic, the learning happens by itself. And that is the glorious thing, right? I mean, can we in 2.5 hours cover everything there is to know about ancient Egypt? Absolutely not. But can we make it interesting enough that that kid then will want to go and learn everything that they can about that subject?
Right.
Absolutely. And that's the goal, right? Because as soon as it's interesting, the boring aspects of history become interesting because they're already invested in it. And that's why I always say when I'm teaching in person, it's one thing to give people a list of dates in World War II, and it's another thing to toss them a hand grenade, right? And if you're working with young boys, it's like, oh, whoa, that's so cool. And yeah, it's so much fun to always bring that cool factor. And so, yeah, that excitement of learning and really taking the work out of it for homeschool families is something that we just absolutely love.
Right. And would you say that your program fits into a certain style of teaching, or do you think any style of teaching, whether it's classical, Charlotte Mason, any style, do you think it would work with them?
That's a really good question. So I was traditionally homeschooled, at least that's what it was called when I was homeschooled. Basically, my parents chose all of the curriculum and we pieced everything together ourselves. In Canada, you kind of have that option, and you also have the option of more doing what the government says to do. And I'm assuming every state is different in that way as
Mhm.
well. And we have people from across the board. We have people who they do all of their stuff through online, similar to what we do, obviously different, but similar. And it's great. We've got families who do almost nothing online, but they find that what we do fits really nicely and is engaging. And so we tried to build something that does work with no matter your kid's learning style, no
Mhm.
matter the type of home education that you're pursuing, likely it'll be able to slot in with what you're doing.
That's wonderful. Um, can you describe what you see as one of the biggest challenges in homeschooling that students face today?
Oh man. Well, it's it's never easy. I mean, homeschooling is a huge blessing. And I mean, I am so grateful every day that I was able to homeschool and that my parents did that. But I mean, as all of you at home who are maybe starting out, maybe you've been doing it for years, it's always got challenges. I mean, whether that's depending on where you live, some provinces here in Canada have had major um, government interference attempted over the last few years, which is why agencies like HSLDA are so valuable. So that's definitely a big one. There's definitely within parts of Canada huge parental rights stuff that is going through. Um, but other than that, the big thing is just as homeschoolers, you like to know what your kids are learning and you like to be able to control. And it's so hard to gauge when you're choosing a curriculum where the standpoint of that curriculum is coming from, right? Like whether or not, I'm a Christian myself, and obviously you like to choose curriculum that follows your worldview.
Mhm.
And we really tried when building History Plus to adhere to what I consider to be, the 60s, 70s journalistic ethics, where you're there to commentate, you're not there to tell. And
Mhm.
so we present what occurred, and then you fit it in with your worldview, and you can take it in the directions that you want it to go. But just the fact, I mean, the cliche is socialization, right? And I think that most people who homeschool know that that is very much a cliche that is rarely, in fact, true.
Mhm.
But yeah, just the fact that as history marches on and as we've seen changes through government structures and et cetera over the years, you never seem to know what is around the corner. It always seems that uncertainty itself is sometimes the biggest challenge for homeschool families.
I think of the name of your program, History Plus, but you have been mentioning this coming fall, you'll be having science classes, and you also mentioned geography. Can you share a little bit more how those two weave into this curriculum?
For sure. So we've designed our program between the older and the younger groups. There's 6 years of brand new content that comes
Oh,
up brand new every single month. And so that's always cycling through. And so what we do is we tend to have one overarching primary focus every year. So this past year for the younger group was a focus on geography. Do we talk about history? Do we talk about science? Of course we do. But really, geography is kind of the foundation that history and science are, built on. Where countries are in relation to each other determine major parts of their history. So we try and lay that down. This year, backed by popular demand and something we were always asked for, was a science-centric curriculum. And so yes, we are History Plus, and so history is always a big part. But if you were to go onto our site, you're going to see that the headers for this coming year are things like engineering, deep space, electromagnetism, volcanology, oceanography, all those kinds of things. And so just know that when you're signing up, you're getting those scientific fields really brought to the forefront. But beyond that, you're also getting the histories of those sciences and the
Wow.
amazing people and the amazing events that happened. And so each of those can, of course, again, we homeschool, we can take things where we want, right? And so each of those can snowball into something much bigger. I mean, if we're doing oceanography and your kid learns about the voyage of the HMS Discovery, which went and discovered the depths of the world's oceans over a 3-year span for the first time, whoa, there's some really, really amazing stuff. And that can snowball into its entire own geography unit in and of itself as well. So, like I said, we just try and enable parents to have an incredible tool for getting their kids interested in those things.
That's really good. And for history, you mentioned Egypt, and then you mentioned some more modern topics such as Chernobyl. Do you just cover ancient history through modern? Is there a certain time period you focus on more?
We do everything. And so depending on the year, depends on really how we teach it. So for example, next year, we take a look at what I like to say history, but through a geopolitical lens. So we'll be taking a look at history, but each month we'll take a look at a different major nation in the world. For example, China, or of course, America, or England, or France, or Germany, and go all the way from the beginning, all the way through to the modern era, and
Mm.
really show how all of these paths of history interweave with each other and how it all goes down. Um, the year after that, which was this past year's program, so 3-year rotation, we take a look at what we call chronologic world history, and it is very much a Western centric, that one. It kind of shows from ancient Egypt through ancient Greece, ancient Rome, the Middle Ages, the Renaissance, the Age of Exploration, through to the colonization of North America, through to the world wars and all of that. So each year presents it in a different way, but it actually goes all the way from ancient history through to much more modern events to hopefully establish a really strong chronology of that for kids.
So really everything would be covered. It's not, I don't know if in Canada you have to have, teaching a certain topic, a certain year for each child, but there's leeway in most states in the US with that. And it sounds like, if you use this program, you'll get it all in.
Absolutely. And I mean, it may not align with, so for example, if you're in grade 3 in Canada, oh my goodness, depending where you are, there's a different thing that you're technically supposed to be doing. Since we work with age ranges instead of specific grades,
Mm.
we do keep it more general in terms of this is the stuff that you are going to want to know. And if you do end up taking from, age 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 and beyond, you're going to get the full spread of pretty much all of world history
Wow.
and a good dose of science, all really to the point where, again, when things are presented visually for kids, it sticks so well. And that's one of the things that we constantly get from parents is that, wow, I can't believe my kid remembers this
Wow.
stuff. This is stuff I didn't know from school a lot of the time. And so it's fun because oftentimes it becomes less of the kids watching it, and oftentimes they'll watch it over lunch break or what have you, and the entire family comes and watches. And
I love it.
one of the fun things too is that we always every month have question and answer videos that we film.
Oh,
And
wow.
so they can actually ask questions about anything they're learning or anything historic that they're interested in but don't know the answers to. And we'll answer them for them right there in a big long episode of theirs. And kids love it because they can
Great.
have
Oh,
their name come up on the screen and
aw,
actually see that their questions are actually being answered by, a industry professional kind of thing.
for
So it
sure. That
keeps it
is so
fun.
exciting. So is there a sense of community among those who are members? Do you have like a group where they can connect with each other or?
We do, and that's where yes, there is the comment sections where lots of times you'll see conversations going on, sometimes between people in different parts of the world who have got to know each other from just seeing their names pop up again and again, right? And in comment sections and what have you. Within Alberta, which is, of course, where I'm from, and Alberta is known as one of the top homeschooling places globally, which is amazing. And so here, where we do our in-person classes as well, yeah, there's a massive community of people, but it just keeps growing and growing as more people discover it across North America.
That's exciting. So, a lot of homeschooling parents, I said, they're going to be starting the new school year. Do you have any advice for parents when it comes to homeschooling?
Oh goodness. Yeah, absolutely. The biggest thing, and this is one that I am always telling, we get to work with a lot of brand new homeschoolers who are just, jumped in. And it very much feels like that. You jump in and suddenly you're treading water and you're like, oh my goodness, am I going to ruin my kid? Well, of course, you're not going to ruin your kid. But one of the biggest things that I always tell people, there's as many right ways to homeschool as there are kids. And that's the beautiful thing, right? Like Timmy down the street is not going to learn the same as your kid. And that doesn't make either better or worse. One's a visual learner, one's a kinesthetic learner, one's an auditory learner. And that gives you the ability to try things. The other thing is, don't be afraid to say, this curriculum that I grabbed to try and do this year isn't working.
Yeah.
Don't feel like you have to actually stick with it for the entire year. I can't count how many times we would get something, we're like, oh, this looks interesting. We try and we're like, wow, this really doesn't work for us. And the beauty of the modern age is with things like Facebook buy and sell groups.
Yeah.
You can say, hey, I have this great curriculum. It's basically unused. Who can use it? And somebody else will buy it because they found that the program that they were using wasn't quite right for them. And so trying those, seeing it, making it so that it really works for your kid. And the other thing is that not every kid is ready for every concept at the same age. And that is something that is so incredibly missing within the school system because there can't be those accommodations. But for homeschool parents, your kid might not be ready for, say, long division when long division comes up. I know that was the case for my brother. It was like long division. It was such an incredible chore and it was such a horrible thing that just didn't jive with his brain yet. My mom said, oh, we'll come back to it in 4 months. Yeah, 4 months later, he absolutely just had it down. And we have to not forget that these are developing brains, right? And so, yeah, that's one of the big things, just to know that there isn't one right way to do things. You'll get so many people all over, everywhere you look will say, this is the way to do it, and say something completely different. And so it becomes so overwhelming. So there is some trial and error there. And the other big thing is if you're like me and you did homeschool all the way through high school, a lot of people get really scared of homeschooling through the high school years.
Yeah.
And at least within Canada, it's more uncommon. But as home education has been around longer and longer, more and more colleges and universities are realizing that homeschool students make really good students because they already know how to self-learn, how to teach themselves, how to learn, which is very much the university and college setting. Absolutely. And so, I homeschooled all the way through high school. Have I ever felt like it's held me back? Not once. And so know that while it can be one of those scary things, and of course, every family situation is different, it can absolutely be done.
I love it. I'm glad that you touched on the high school aspect. And, some families watching, you might have the younger children and the older children. You already touched on how you have videos for both. Could you maybe walk through maybe what a week or what a day would look like using your materials with a large family of different ages?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, if you've got lots of different ages, we technically list our age groups at our 2 programs. And if you go on to our site and then you go to the store to purchase a subscription, because like virtually everything in the world today, it is subscription based, you have your choice between monthly and yearly, and you can try it out for a month completely free. You will need to input a credit card. I always just say that because that's how it makes sure that somebody isn't just signing up again and again and again and again for free trials. That's just a website thing now they work at. But it won't charge you for anything for that first month. Of course, if you find that it isn't a good fit for your family, make sure that you do cancel before the coming billing cycle. You'd still have access until the end of the month, but just make sure that you did cancel. Otherwise, it would, of course, charge. And we're a small family company, so if there's a problem with anything, just contact us and we can straighten things out for you, because every family has different levels of technical ability. But you have your options between monthly, and if you find it's a good fit, you can save some money by signing up for an entire year at a time. And then you'll have access to that month's topics. And if you sign up at the beginning of the month, you might just want to do them every day. And so for a lot of our families, even though it says 8 to 11, they've got kids as young as 5 and 6 who are watching along and enjoying it as well. And they can do it. And like I said, each one of those is about a 5-minute intensive. And the beauty of it is since they aren't live, you can do it whenever you want, wherever you want. You can watch it again. If there's something that wasn't quite grasped, you can go back and watch it a second time. And then, of course, there's the downloadable, so you can print them, worksheets. And they're all PDFs. You can download them on the very first episode as one giant bundle. And yes, we make sure we have answer keys for the parents in case history and science isn't your greatest gift. And you can download them all as once, or you can do them individually by the episode. It's all in there. And then, well, hey, it depends what you want to do with it. Some parents decide that if you're going to be doing something about, air and space, that maybe you should do some kind of experiments. And we have, of course, resource lists of things that you can buy on Amazon and what have you. If you want some nice, easy, handy dandy, here's some more stuff to do with this. Great. But that's, every family is different. Some people will, some people don't, and that's just fine. So you got your worksheets, you can be doing those, and some of them are crosswords, some of them are quiz sheets, some of them are a huge variety to keep it interesting. And then some like to go and follow the video links and see what else there is to learn about that from other perspectives, like we said, on YouTube or what have you. And then for the older group, same kind of thing. Some people just say, okay, you go watch it over there on a tablet, you go watch it over there and throw it up on the TV. Some people just like to do, their older kids will also watch the younger. One of the things that the kids find the most exciting is we always do what we call creature features. And whether that's geography, creatures that are in that area, history, of course, the different cultures are in different areas, so same thing. Or with science, of course, there's creatures that use each of these scientific principles in credible ways. Like for electricity, you've got electric eels and you have electric rays and all that kind of stuff. And so we do these very intensive, okay, here's this creature, here's what it does. And kids absolutely love that. So we find that while we do more of those in the younger group, oftentimes their older siblings are coming and watching as well. So it's good fun.
I could see that. Well, thank you for explaining that. I think that will get a lot of parents excited to just have, these subjects prepared for them and ready. They can just purchase or try a free trial and just get started this year. Again, without that preparation, that can be so stressful for parents this time of year if they don't know what they're doing yet. So this is incredible. For those watching who are interested in checking it out, where can they find you?
So if you want to find us, you can absolutely follow the link that I think you guys have in the comments, but it's historyplusonline.com. And you can just search History Plus in your search engine, will be the top result in there. If you end up in one and it isn't giving you a spot to sign up, you're probably on our Canadian website, which is how you can sign up for our in-person workshops here in Canada, but they do link between each other as well. So you can go in there, you can check it out, you can sign up for a free trial, make sure it's a good fit for your family. But we found that regardless of your learning style, 9 times out of 10, this ends up being one of the top highlights of a school year. One important thing to remember that I think I mentioned before, but just so everyone is aware, when you sign up, remember that the topics that each month has do cycle, which means on the 5th of the following month, that program is taken down. And in the future, we might change that, but as it currently stands with having hundreds of gigabytes of videos, this is the way that the web hosting works so that thousands all over the world can join us without it glitching out.
No, that's really good. And I'm sure everyone gets so excited when the 5th of the month comes and they get to see the new content.
Absolutely. Yeah. So our new content comes live on the 1st. We just have a bit of an overlap there in case somebody's, gone on vacation and they've fallen behind. But the beauty of it is at 5-minute episodes, catching up if you want to is super, super easy.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Daniel. I appreciate your time and I appreciate everybody who is tuned in today to watch. If you are interested in more, again, you can check this link and head over to historyplusonline.com/schoolhouse. And if you are interested in schoolhouseteachers.com and checking out the courses over there, if you purchase a membership before August 31st, you will receive a free tote if you are in the US. So be sure to check that out as well. And we will see you next time for another Homeschool Live. Bye.